everyone, I'm Chad Shoup, and welcome to this week's edition of Bank It or Tank It. Today, we're covering the security company ADT. They're in many homes throughout America where they've come in and installed their security systems, and then they continue to create revenues based on monitoring those packages that they've sold to Americans for years now. So it's been a popular business model, one that everybody really knows about. But just recently, the stocks begin to take off. This may be due to some of the political environment, where maybe they're worried about some of the crime that's been picking up in some areas, and they're just with the pandemic lockdown and spending more time at home. Some people were a little bit more concerned about having security systems. So we've seen this kind of shift in the environment where these were kind of fading out, but now you have an older generation who their kids are moved on, they're living at home alone, and they don't feel like they can prepare themselves enough. Plus, a little bit of a crime rate ticking up with the world opening back up again. So we've seen sales start to pick up here for ADT, and what we're looking at today is whether or not this stock should be on your bank it list. That means it'll be heading higher, or it's a stock that's set to tank and head lower. So to figure that out, we're going to be taking a look at the fundamentals, the sentiment, and the technicals to break down ADT and come up with our conclusion today. Now, before we get into the details, I just want to make sure everybody takes the chance to scroll below, click subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to leave me a comment. Let me know what stocks you want me to feature in an upcoming Bank It or Tank It video, or one of my quick takes where we run through 5 stocks in just a few minutes to break down everything that we need to know based on the price charts. Now for ADT, it's really all about expectations. We've seen a lot of improvements like I was talking about. They're seeing more orders, more sales, people that are definitely wanting their security alarms at their house to be monitored, and plus they partnered with Google, so they have a lot of momentum here helping ADT continuing to drive sales higher, and that's got analysts on watch. And now the expectations are taking center stage, and that's critical because I know a lot about expectations. I've developed my number one option strategy all around expectations, and of course I would love for you to take a look at that. You can scroll below to learn more about my option strategy that I've developed around earnings season by looking at what analysts expect compared to what the company actually reports. But what you can end up seeing, and what we may be stuck here with ADT today, is that the expectations just kind of get so far out of control that they're pricing in so much bullish information, so many positive events, that it just almost becomes impossible for the company to live up to. So let's dive in. We're going to start with the fundamentals, and this is where the expectations really start to boil over for ADT. Now the chart that I look at is just a quick chart of the net income and total revenues. So the total revenues are the blue bars on the chart, and the net income is the line on the chart with the key for that on the left-hand side. Now let's start with the revenues. The blue bars, you can see here in 2021, they're basically leveling off a little bit, and then they start to tick higher. Now this is nothing crazy because we look at 2017, 18, 19, it was a nice steady increase, and then 2020 to 2021 is where we saw a bit of a pullback. With the world shut down, they didn't see the sales really start to ramp up. That's really only starting to take place now, where they're starting to see their recurring sales from people activating and installing new alarms to start to build profits here for the company. And you can see that in the net income. Now net income, the zero line on the left hand side shows that net income has been at a loss for 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 so far. But you can see the expectations for 2021 are for a positive $500 million in net income. It's going to hold around $400 million in 2022, and then jump back up to over $600 million in 2023. So this is where analysts are definitely getting ahead of themselves, it seems like. I mean, they're pricing in a lot of bullish momentum. And I don't know if you saw this already, but what we're seeing here is that analysts are pricing in 3 of their best years for ADT ever, that they've ever had since 1996. They were private for a couple of years, so we don't have that information. But other than that, they've only reported 2 years where they had positive net income. Every other single year, that's 20 years of public information where they've had negative net income. So the company has struggled to turn around on the bottom line and have profits for shareholders. And now here we are after a pandemic, after a lot of uncertainty in the market. The next 3 years are expected to be their largest net income profits that they've ever seen. And it's coming at a time where analyst expectations are really ramping up about the company, and this shows it. These are all expectations. So it's really a period for ADT to really show the market that they can deliver on these expectations, because if they fell short, then it's going to be nothing but downhill from here. But of course, I don't base my whole bank it or tank it analysis just on the fundamentals of a company, because right now this just looks like a reach for me, and I don't think ADT can catch it, to be honest with you. I think this is where one of those times where they push the expectations too far, and I just don't see ADT reporting phenomenal net income results here over the next 3 years. They're just not going to live up to it, I don't think. But let's continue to dive into ADT. We'll look at some quick comps before we get into the price chart, which is going to be our ultimate indicator of whether or not this is a bank it or tank it stock. And you can see these companies here, they don't even have a great list of comparable stocks as we pull up these quick comps. We have data companies, we have hiring companies, we have credit reporting companies, we have the Brinks company, a security company, and they're very small cap, but that's probably the best, one of the best competitors that they pulled on here. But you can see ADT, just $9 billion in market cap. It's one of the smallest companies on their list. 32 billion is the average. Now for total revenues and net income, we saw that net income was at a loss. So they don't even have a number here for their 3-year compound average annual growth rate. The average of these companies 18%, but you can see Brinks company, they've really turned it around, 84%. They are rolling here and growing their net income. But when you look at their revenues, just 3.4% a year over the last 3 years. So this shows that this is a company, even though they're a pretty small cap stock, they're only 3.7 billion. They're a security company that's really just found a way to generate profits. So they're seeing their net income grow, but their revenues are really not growing at all. So that's a struggling sign for any company when you see that their top line results, their revenues, which is whether or not they're increasing sales or slowing sales, that's pretty much slowing down. And then they're able to do some either accounting configurations or just trim expenses across the company to boost the bottom line. And while that's great, it's only going to last so long before they run out of room of things to cut and things to way to improve the net income. And then all of a sudden the net income continues to decline and things just don't add up for the company from there. So that may be the case with ADT that we're sitting in right now too. Just 6.3% as the average revenue growth. And then net income, again, it's negative now, but they're expecting that to really take off here over the next 3 years. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Now, as we flip over to the sentiment indicators, we're going to be taking a look at the price to earnings ratio. And since ADT was negative on earnings, they don't have a price to earnings ratio here, but you can see the average here is 55 times earnings. So that's rather high for the overall market, and it's boosted by 138 times from the other security company, Brinks company. But for now, we just need ADT to get to the profitability, and then from there you'll be able to see what investors are really pricing this stock at. But based on the industry and what we're looking at, we can expect it to be a pretty high price to earnings multiple. Now the short interest, this is to give us a sense of the bearish sentiment for the stock, and at just 1.2% of the overall shares outstanding, it's nothing to be alarmed about. The average here is 2.6%, but again, you can see Brinks 7%. So people have really bet on that stock, having played out, having ran its course, and they're betting on that to pull back. So that is something interesting to see here, but you don't see that yet for ADTs. So this is not a bearish indicator by any means. And then when we look at the average broker recommendation, here a 1 is a strong buy, a 5 is a strong sell. So they're basically right in the middle, 2.38. Essentially it's a hold here from the analyst community. So even though we're seeing the expectations for ADT on net income continue to soar, their expectations for the actual stock based on the analyst community is just a hold recommendation at the moment. And again, we're not seeing the bearish sentiment pick up in short interest, not many bearish bets. But let's pull up the price chart and see how analysts are actually trading the stock. Now, I wanted to start with this longer term chart here just to look at this. This is from 2018 till today. So it's their most recent stint as a public company. And you can see that we're almost back up here to the initial starting price around $12 a share for ADT. But I wanted to throw in this moving average. It's just a 100-day simple moving average. And I wanted to do that to show you what this looks like to me. It looks like a rounding bottom here for the stock. And I think when you throw in the moving average, it just shows you that slope is a little bit smoother here across the bottom where we're seeing this start to break out. Now, I'm not using the 100-day moving average as a strong buy signal here, but we do see that it is starting to push higher, and it is also almost back to where the first 200-day moving average started to pick up. So we're seeing this swing as basically a rounding bottom, and we see the stock exploding higher here. So that's a bullish sentiment here that we're seeing from the stock price. We're seeing it explode higher. This is a very nice chart setup. So this stock would be a hard one from looking at how investors are trading it and how the market's reacting to put on our tank it list. So for today, just looking at something like this, I'm already leaning towards putting it on a bank it list, even though there's some of those fundamental issues that are going to have to work out. But that's because those could be years down the road. This stock could just report some positive news here over the next couple of quarters, and before you know it, it could be up near an all-time high of $17 a share. So let's zoom in and take a look at exactly what we're seeing today. We see that this is in shaded green. That's the RRG quadrants, so the relative rotation graph. We use that to get a sense of where the stock is sitting relative to the S&P 500. So when it's in red, that means it's lagging the overall market. Then when it goes to blue, it's improving, and then green means it's leading the market. So we saw it dip back in the weakening, and then it went right back to leading the market, and then that started the kind of the blow-off rally that we've seen here over the last couple of weeks. Now what we'd expect next is for it to turn into a weakening again, a little bit of yellow, and then lagging, some red. So I'm expecting to see a pullback after this sharp push higher, but this stock is still going to be on my bank it list because of this. Looks like a breakout to me with the rounding bottom that we have on the broader chart, and then this is breaking out of a pretty nice resistance area across these tops. And when we just draw a simple line across it like that, you can see that this really started to push through that resistance here just over the last couple of days. And maybe even another key area to watch on this pullback anyways is just almost connecting the tops right across these, because this is a little bit shallower of a trend here, but it can also be the key area to watch as the stock is in the leading quadrant. We're going to see a bit of a pullback. This is going to be pretty close to wherever the pullback is going to come to. So, but if it falls even down to this blue line, as long as it stays above this blue trend line that I just highlighted, then this is a stock that I'm going to have on my bank it list. It's above about, what, $10.60 a share. As long as ADT holds above that, this is a stock that you want to look for bullish opportunities on. Even in the short term, there could be a little bit of a pullback, but I think that's just going to give you an opportunity to jump in and ride it as it continues to make this steady climb higher here over the next several months. So it's a bank it stock, and it's going to be one that you want on your radar here over the next few weeks. So that's all for my video today. Again, this is a stock that we started with it being all about expectations, but of course to me, it's all about the price. And for ADT, investors are loving the stock. They're buying it up. It's in a nice uptrend. It's making basically what looks like a rounding bottom to me, and it's got some key areas of support now that are just below where the price is trading that we can use as our guides in the sand. And of course, when those get broke, then the bank it status is thrown out the window, and this can become a tank it stock, and then all those expectation issues can really start to catch up to it. But for now, the stock is heading higher, so it's on my bank it list, and that's how I'm going to be looking to trade this as long as it stays above my key trend lines. So that's all for my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, just let me know. Click the like button and be sure to subscribe so that way you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And don't forget to leave me a comment. Let me know what stocks you want me to feature in my next video. So until next time, I'm Chad Shoup.